Hey everyone, Wayne Fox here. You know, a friend of mine wanted me to help him build an SSD, and we kind of looked around and we opted for this new one from Other World Computing. This is the 80 gigabit version of their really well done 1M2 that they have had out for a while. And I told him that, you know, I'd love to do a quick video on it if he wouldn't mind before I set it up for him. He said that'd be great. So let's get this thing open and let's do some tests and let's see how it compares to these other devices. All right, let's take a look here. Pretty straightforward box. This is a little more economical, maybe environmentally friendly than a lot of them. They're not trying to get too fancy. Functional, very well designed. Pops right open, nice. And it looks to me like it's pretty much just like the last one. Yep, sure enough. Let's check out the rest of the box real quick. We have a cable. I like these short cables with these devices. Unusual that it's not marked. There's no specification on what kind of cable it is. There's no USB marking for speed. I'm sure it's a good cable, but I'm surprised that OWC has opted to not indicate either the USB capabilities or the Thunderbolt logo. Strange. Little screwdriver. I guess that means we've got to open up some screws. Looks like a couple of little rubber feet. Looks like, yeah, on the bottom here, once we take it apart, we must have these to cover it up. Well, let's just compare them to some of the other ones. First of all, the previous generation, as you can see, they're almost identical. A little bit of difference on the back and the location of the port. And this one does say 80 gigabit per second. This one says 40. I don't know what this little hole is for. I did measure it, and we're talking 1 or 2 millimeters difference in the width and the size, so it's basically the same size. Another one to compare to, which is a really good device, and probably the most direct comparison is this one from TerraMaster. Both of these are fanless devices, which makes them very nice for a lot of people. You can see the TerraMaster is quite a bit thicker, but it's also not quite as large. Volume-wise, they're both fairly beefy devices, although this one's a little flatter. We'll talk a little bit more about their cooling, and this will be interesting to see how well the OWC design compares to the TerraMaster. This one really did a great job keeping the SSD cool, and we'll test that here in a minute. Another one to compare it to is the cases. This is the equivalent. This is the 40 gigabit per second version, but the 501 Pro is basically the same size. And as you can see, both of these are quite a bit larger because these rely on a fan to keep the SSD cool. And for some people, that's great, but some people just really want the quiet. Both are attractive. These aluminum ones, I think, are really attractive. They're really nice devices. There's another one I'm doing a review on right now. This is the new one from Oracle. It's a Thunderbolt SSD, whereas this one is not marked Thunderbolt. So it's technically USB version 4 or USB 4 version 2, although most likely they're using a Thunderbolt controller. They just aren't having Intel certified. That's really what it amounts to anymore. Basically the same thing. But as you can see, this one's quite small. I haven't done the test on this one yet. This is the smallest one so far. I'm not sure how this one's going to handle heat. I haven't figured out a way that it does any cooling. I can't tell if there's a fan in there under this grill or not, but I'll have that video out in a few days. Well, let's go ahead and pop an SSD in this thing, and then maybe we can get some testing on it. So we're going to start with the Western Digital Blackgate 50X. We'll also test it with the Samsung 990 Pro. Those seem to be the two best and kind of standardize all the tests. Pretty straightforward to put it in, I'm sure. Just take out these two screws. I'm going to use their screwdriver, even though I have better ones. Seems to work quite well. And let's just take those out. Now, to open it, you would think you would lift the back off. Unfortunately, they didn't change the design. This pops to the side and lifts off. Not a problem unless you've already got an SSD, because what happens then is the case is stuck to that SSD and it's very hard to push it because it's stuck. You can't lift it away far enough to break it free. And actually, I think I maybe ruined a couple of SSDs. If you're planning on changing your SSD a lot, it might not be an option. Most people don't. Most people are just going to put it in and leave it, which is great. Anyway, you slide it to the side, pops off. It already has a thermal pad included, and there's not even a cover on it to remove. Notice there's also another thermal pad here, and this is the controller chip. Most of those, I think, are on a different board on the other side, and they've opted to put it all on the same board and then cool it with the same connection to the plate here. All right, let's go ahead and get the SSD in. Just remove the screw that comes with it right here. Insert the SSD about a 30-degree angle. Should seat pretty easily. My new black background might not be the best. Pop it down, make sure it's seated. You can tell when it clicks in place, there's a little ridge that pops into that groove. Balance the screw on the tip of the screwdriver is what I do, and then I always kind of do it sideways rather than try to turn that screw upside down. And there we go. Snug, but not overly snug. No reason to tighten it up too bad. And now we just drop our cover back into place, slide it over as we drop it down. And the question would be, is that thermal pad thick enough? And I believe, as you can see here, I have a small gap right here, which is going to suck up when I put the screws in, which tells me that thermal pad is actually making pretty solid contact, which is pretty critical with this fanless design. Put our 2 screws back in. I'm going to snug these screws up pretty tight because I want to make sure I've got good pressure. That thermal pad is pretty pliable, and it will actually impress into that SSD. And when we take it off, there would be an impression, but now you can see I have no gap there, so I've sucked it up tight. A lot of nice features. I like that the busy light is on the front, not a big deal, but when you put them on the back, they're useless because this always is facing away from you. I'm not sure what this little light is. It might be an indicator of which connection speed. We'll have to check that out and figure out what this little hole's for. If anything important, I'm not sure. But not bad, pretty easy to install. A little heavier than the ones that have a fan, but not bad. This would pack around in your bag quite well because it's nice and flat. So the real question is, how does this design handle the heat? Anyway, let me run some tests on this over the next few days, put it through its paces with the Western Digital Black as well as the Samsung. And I'll actually show the test results compared to the other devices that I've done. I'm going to start doing that, just put them all side by side as I do each one. And oh, I forgot, we need to put our little foot on there. I assume that's fairly important because we want to have that pad that gives it a little bit of cushion underneath, so there'd be a little bit of space underneath that. I don't know how critical that is, but otherwise this aluminum will be tight to the table. Okay, be back in a few days. Well, I'm back. I've been using the 1M2 for a couple weeks now. I've actually put my working drive in it, so I've been doing videos and other functions off of it. I really like it. A few comments later about what I think and where it might apply. And the first thing I would mention is the purpose of the holes on the back. This hole above the connector is called a Klingon port, or it's designed for a Klingon, not the Star Trek Klingon, but it's Kling with a C. And it's basically a little device which secures your cable to the device and keeps it from unplugging when you don't want it to. I've never used those. I have no real opinion on them. And it's only on OWC devices, and a lot of my devices aren't, so I really have no need to explore that at all. The other one is actually interesting. It's actually an access hole to a small button, and you can insert a little pin or something in there, and that changes the functionality of the LED light on the front. You can go from normal, one click it goes to half bright, and another click it goes off, and it will just cycle through those. So you can set that light up in case you don't want it on or it seems kind of bright and annoying. That's the purpose for that other hole. So as far as performance, I ran it through quite a few tests. Here you can see the result of Blackmagic disk speed. I'm showing the 1M2 compared to the Acasis 501 Pro and the TerraMaster. And as you can see, these are all so close together, the difference is pretty much irrelevant. You're within 1 or 2%. So I also ran the test using what's called Amorphous, and here you can see the result of that. And again, you'll see how remarkably similar they are. So the anomaly here is in the QD64 write speeds, and you'll see it's significantly different. I don't think this has anything to do with the device. I actually think it's because my first tests with the TerraMaster and the Acasis were done on the M4 Max MacBook Pro, and now I'm connected to M3 Ultra Mac Studio. Now I'm going to do some more research on that, but overall, all the other numbers are so similar that I don't see any reason that anomaly would be there unless there's something more efficient in the way the Ultra Studio is handling some of the data. I'll do some more research on that, but I don't think those are really significant enough to worry about. The bottom line is it's a great device speed-wise. So now the real test is how well the design of the case handles the heat. And to do that, I'm using the Western Digital Black 850X because its SLC cache allows me to move a lot of data before it slows down. Once an SLC cache is full, all these devices will slow down to the native NAND speed, which is usually only about 1,500 megabytes a second, far below the 6,000 that they get otherwise. We've got a 400 gigabyte file located on an external drive that can be read at nearly 6,000. And we're going to copy that over and over and over until we hit the end of that SLC cache. And in this case, with the Western Digital, that means we're going to copy 1,600 gigabytes of data in one fell swoop. Not random files, but just 4 large files. And as you see, here we go. All 3 of these start off really close to the same. And as we go along, you'll see that the speed-wise going along, there's our second drop. And that's where we drop the file a second time. And as you can see, there's our third drop. Now at this point, we've transferred about 800 or 900 gigabytes worth of data, and the OWC temperature is managing pretty well. It's only up to 118 degrees, where the Acasis, which I don't think the fan is on full time, but the Acasis is running the same temperature, and the TerraMaster is actually slightly cooler. It's only up to 108 degrees. Let's keep going. Okay, now here's our fourth drop. So at this point, we've transferred about 1,300 gigabytes of data. And as you can see here, the OWC temperature is still doing pretty well. We're up to 131 degrees, getting a little warm compared to the Acasis at 126 and the TerraMaster at 113. So the TerraMaster is doing remarkably well for a fanless device. Let's go ahead and crank this through till the end. You'll see that it slows down. And we have these little spikes, but right now we're averaging about 1.6 with a little spike every once in a while. And when we get to the end, you'll see that they all finished within, and when we get to the end, you see they all finished within about 5-10 seconds. It took about 7 minutes to transfer 1,600 gigabytes of data. The OWC ended up getting up to 144 degrees at this point, which is pretty warm. And I kept this running for, I kept this plugged in and monitored it for 5 to 6 minutes afterwards, and it didn't start to cool down, which surprised me a little bit. What I'm wondering is if, even though you're not transferring data, that chip, that SSD is busy transferring the data from the SLC cache NAND into the TLC NAND. So it's actually pretty busy trying to clear up that SLC cache. Same with all of these. None of them cool down super fast afterwards. We'll see that the TerraMaster was the best at only 127. The Acasis, it ran at about 142 as well, so it's right up there. Now, the highest recommended temperature for these is supposedly around 135 degrees. Obviously, you got to push these really, really hard. I don't know how many people that are transferring 1,600 gigabyte files. And so my guess is that this new design, even though maybe doesn't quite handle it as well as the TerraMaster for a fanless device, does quite well. So great device. What I like about it is it's thin, it's compact, easier to carry in my bag than the TerraMaster. I think the TerraMaster is a better choice if you're going to have it sitting at your workstation most of the time. It's nice. It makes no noise. It stays cool. Great device. The Acasis is a good device as well, and for portability, it's probably the winner. Smallest device to go in your bag, and with that fan, which thermally controlled, it kicks on when it needs to, but most time it's off, but you can force it to be on. It's actually a good choice for somebody that's really mostly on the go. It might be the best choice because it is the smallest footprint. Anyway, great device. OWC did not send me one of these. This is not, they didn't ask me to review it. I've been an OWC fan for a long time. I've been using OWC products since back when it was Firewire 400. I don't know how long ago that's been, but that's been a decade or two ago. And they do make great devices. And so I thought I would go ahead and review the device. I thought they deserved it. It's a good design, and I like the previous version as well. Easy to install, handles the heat really well. So I've got a video coming out fairly soon. I've been working on this one on this other device. This was the smallest footprint I've found. And while this doesn't handle the heat as well as the others, it handles it pretty well. And that makes this really attractive for somebody that's trying to travel a lot. This is the Oracle Thunderbolt 5 SSD enclosure. And another week or two, I'll have that video finished. In the meantime, hope you found this was helpful. All three of these are great devices. The choice really depends on what you personally want. And I'll have links below to, if you want to pick one of these up. I appreciate those that use the links. It actually gives me a little bit of money so I can buy some of these devices to make more videos on, something I kind of enjoy. Well, anyway, till next time, see ya.